name is Mystical McKay, and tonight I'm going to be reading to you Chapter 5 of the completion process. This is where things get hot. Okay. So we've gone through 4 chapters, but these first 4 chapters kind of just delve into how trauma works, how the human mind kind of works and processes trauma, just in order for you to kind of understand what exactly is going on while we're in the midst of doing the process. So from chapter 5 and on, this is where we actually get into the actual process, which is my favorite part, so I'm excited. Let's get into it, okay? I'm going to tune in on Twitch real quick. Make sure everything's working well. Once again, seems to be doing a little bit better with the quality of the video these past couple of times, right? I hope so. I'm going to tune in here and then we can get started. I love this book so much. Even just touching it, just having it in my hands, it just feels so powerful, you know? You know? Everything is good? Okay, cool. Then we can get started. For everybody who's in here, hello, thank you. If this is your first time in here, then I highly recommend. If you haven't listened to the other chapters, then you can go onto my YouTube channel under Mystical McKay, and you can read chapter 1, 2, and 3, and 4 through there, and then you can be up to date. Anyway, hello Cody, thank you for being in here with me. Okay, hi, let's get started. Chapter 5 of the completion process by Teal Swan, read by me, Mystical McKay. Chapter 5, preparing yourself for the completion process. Now that you have attuned yourself to the completion process by reading chapter 1 through 4, it's time to make it a part of your life. You cannot do the process incorrectly. There's no such thing as a correct or incorrect experience while doing the completion process. From this point forward, you should progress with the following statement in mind. Every experience I have while doing the completion process is valid, and every experience that I have while doing the completion process is the right one for me. It's the exact experience that I need at this time. Getting started. Oh, I just realized something. I'm in my music thing. I'm going to switch over to my jewelry and, my reading, and see if that messes anything up. Is that okay? I just realized I still had it set up for when I'm playing music. Silly me. There's so many things I need to remember to have everything set up. There's always seems to be one thing I forget. Sorry. Thank you. I just looked at it and I was like, something about this is wrong. My poor giraffe. Now he's like, what happened to my face? Sorry, Jeffrey. Okay. So sorry. Getting started. When you commit to the completion process, you are adopting the perspective of any current emotional upset that is, in fact, just an echo of a traumatic memory. You might be haunted by it, or not even remember it. But the circumstance in your current life that you think is the cause of your upset is simply just a trigger from a prior wound, a wound that needs your attention. Because triggers today help you see the wounds that you have been trying to suppress. And the triggers are beneficial instead of detrimental. Thank you! You might find it difficult to accept that triggers today are a good thing, especially when they hurt you so badly. You don't have to feel grateful for them. You just have to commit to viewing them as messengers, carrying the echo of something very important. Looking at triggers this way, you can use them to your advantage. You can see each trigger as a wide open opportunity for integration. The beauty of the completion process is that when you use triggers to integrate yourself, you'll eventually lose any negative association that you might have with those triggers. You'll be much less reactive when the triggers do occur, and you begin to associate those triggers with integration. And that makes you feel better instead of feeling worse. Once the meaning of something changes, this dramatically can make your whole life be lived differently. You no longer live in a state of defensiveness or feeling victimized. You'll feel like the universe is assisting you instead of deliberately causing you to suffer. When you use the completion process, you are committed to the completion process. You practice the art of taking your attention off the thing that has triggered you and you practice the art of taking your attention off the thing that has triggered you and away from the story that you might be telling yourself about the present circumstance. Instead, you place your attention on feeling the experience as a result of what has just happened. I call this listening to the echo. Once you feel that an emotion has been triggered, it's an ideal time to use the completion process. There are times when it's not possible to do the completion process right then and there. If this is the case, then wait for a better time to schedule. Only you know how dedicated you are to yourself and to this process of integration, but in general, the sooner you can use a trigger to integrate, the better. How soon you do the integration comes down to a matter of priority. You have to ask yourself, what is really important? Is that other activity so important that it should take priority over doing the completion process, which helps you to heal and become whole again? So, for example, what if you feel a trigger from someone or something just before you're planning to clean the kitchen? If you decide it's more important to clean, you're telling yourself that the kitchen floor and the dishes in the sink are more important than your health and wellness. Once you're in a state and a quiet place and can go through the steps, start by thinking about the event that triggered you and see if you can reactivate the painful feelings. It's like just pouring a whole ton of gasoline on something and then like lighting a match and throwing the match into the gasoline. Yeah, you're doing that on purpose to yourself. Fun! Okay. Most people who commit to the completion process are perfectly capable of managing whatever comes up as a result and find it instantly causes them to feel better. True. However, as with many deep healing processes, it's a good idea to make sure that you have professional support or a good friend that you can call on in case you run into anything that you feel is too difficult to handle on your own. Important. If at any point during the process you feel tempted to harm yourself or someone else, seek help immediately. This is an especially important caution for those who have experienced something like ritual trauma or who were mentally programmed. They should definitely engage in a skilled professional to work with them directly from the outset. The role of a practitioner or a trusted friend. For the majority of people, the ultimate goal of the completion process is to develop the ability to use this tool on their own. By doing it yourself, you hold the power for your own freaking healing. I believe any risk is minimal when someone learns how to do this for themselves. In fact, I strongly believe that the consequences of living in constant reactive states are far worse. Why let the echoes of the past haunt you forever? If you have read the whole process and you feel so called to try it, then you should do so. That being said, if after you read this and all the steps and it still sounds super intimidating to you, you can ask someone you trust to help you, especially when you are just beginning. You know yourself best. Especially in the beginning, you could ask a friend to help and engage in the completion process. Or you could get a certified practitioner, CPCP. I have explained more about this role in the Appendix B, and you can go onto her website to book a session with a practitioner. This process is a wonderful tool in and of itself because it can stand alone and its own form of therapy, but it also works very well with a modality that can be added to other therapies such as energy work, body work, psychology. I believe that if a particular emotional state is echoing as a trigger, it is because the emotional state and the memory attached to it are begging to be integrated. Your inner self is trying to integrate something only once it feels like you are in a safe enough space to heal it. This is why post-traumatic stress symptoms don't usually show up upon the person who is in the current fight or flight mode and is in a space where it no longer serves the consciousness to remain fractured. By taking on this work yourself or with a caring friend or practitioner, you aren't forcing anything. Your very being is trying to heal, and it will continue to try to do so with or without your conscious assistance. If you are being triggered and are aware of your triggers, you are now ready and are capable of handling whatever comes up during the process of integration. Hi guys, thank you. The completion process as a daily practice. When you become dedicated to the completion process, you make it more than something you do in response to triggers. You can make it a part of your daily meditative practice. Oof. Lord. Some people find that the best time to do this is when they first wake up, before you do anything else. Sit up in bed, walk up to a chair or a meditation cushion, and commence the process. Commence the process. Commence? What the fuck? Commence the process. Begin by being present with whatever feeling is within your body. You might find that the feeling is holdover from the night before, or an emotional response to a dream that you might have had while you slept. Your subconscious mind tries to integrate and heal itself during the night, in dream time, so it's pretty common to process things emotionally and mentally throughout the night. once you have become familiar with feeling, the feeling flavor that is being experienced in your body upon waking up that day, start to do the rest of the completion process. You can use this morning ritual in addition to using the process anytime you are triggered throughout the day. Truly, the completion process does not cause us to become complete, and it doesn't cause us to become whole, but rather it awakens us to the fact that we always are and we always were complete and whole. Regretfully, there are many things, many past wounds, which obscure us from the truth about ourselves. But as the wounds obscuring this truth are embraced by our own minds and hearts, our true selves that contains this undeniable truth can and will be uncovered. La la la, thank you. I love this book so freaking much. Okay. The flow of the completion process. Remember that once you start the process, you should go straight through from step 1 to step 18. In other words, the completion process is not an exercise where you can do a few steps today and then finish the rest next week. Each step is built upon the previous one, and the entire process is designed to be completed in one sitting so that the emotional process is opened and closed properly and predictably. It can be intensely emotional, so pay attention to finishing what you start is a very important element. You will notice as you keep reading that some steps are relatively quick and straightforward, while others are more involved and may take longer to accomplish. There is no usual time frame that it takes, just allowing the flow of healing from step 1 to step 18. Taking as much time as you know is right for you. The number of minutes will be different for each person, and that is perfectly normal. This next section provides a short description of each step so you can get a quick overview of the entire process. Chapters 6 through 9 provide more detailed descriptions of each of the 18 steps. It is advised that you read through these next 4 chapters before beginning. This way, you will be very familiar with what you watch for and what needs are done in each step. Once you are comfortable with each individual step and the overall flow, then you need to refer only the one quick reference page in Appendix A, which gives a simplified list and a brief description of each step. Please note that all details and descriptions of the 18 steps, both the short references below the longer detailed descriptions in the coming chapters, are specifically written so that you, a helpful friend, or a CPCP, Completion Process Certified Practitioner, can follow along. The process is the same. The completion process, the short description of each step. Step 1. Before you do all this, obviously you get in kind of a meditative state and you just get into a space where you're very, very relaxed, should be at this point. You should be feeling relatively in a good space. And then with step 1 is to create a safe haven. We set up a safe haven, a safe place within our minds, and we also create a primary, quote-unquote, safe support figure. This has to be done only once, unless you wish to create a different kind of place at another time. So in that meditative state, you are, you got your eyes closed, and you literally want to picture in your mind's eye the most beautiful scenery that you could possibly conceive with your own mind. And it's going to look different for everyone, but it's finding an actual safe haven within your mind that's going to aid in the rest of the process. I personally myself chose usually a beach scenery, and I have a house on a beach. But yeah, being near the water and the ocean, that whole scenery for me is just so comforting. And so that's what I chose. And for some reason, the first time I did the completion process, my safety support system person was Ram Dass. Don't ask why. Anyway, that was step 1. Step 2 is where things get a little spicy. We practice emotional Vipassana in order to explore the feeling or the trigger. When we have a strong, uncomfortable emotion or feeling within the present of us, we close our eyes and sink into the feeling. We familiarize ourselves with the unique sensations or the feeling flavors of the feeling. We are unconditional with these feelings, experiences, and we are observing them without needing them to change. After a time, we see if we can name the feeling. We can do this with ourselves regarding to whether there is a particular feeling present. It is simply much easier and more impactful when there's strong emotion is present. That was just step 2. Step 3. Validate the present feeling. We give that emotion or feeling the message that we are completely with it. We see it as valid. We care about it. And that we are ready and we want to know what it has to say. We are open to fully receiving it. Step 4. Invite the memory to surface. We use the sensations of the feeling flavors like a rope connecting to the origin or the causation of that very feeling. We ask, when was the first time did I feel this feeling? And instead of mentally chasing the answer, we let our being offer it up to us like a bubble, floating up from the depths of the ocean, in whatever form it comes. Step 5. Reexperiencing the memory. If/when a memory surfaces, we observe and experience the memory in whatever way it comes to us. We take time to be present with the intensity of the feeling of the memory. We emotionally re-experience it. Right? Yeah. Ick. And step 6 is validating the feeling within the memory. We give the emotion in the past, the same as we did in the present tense, the message that we are completely here with it. We see it as valid, we care about it, and that we are ready and we want to know what it has to say. We are open to fully receiving it. Step 7. Step into the adult perspective within the memory. When we feel ready, we step out of the perspective that we are currently in, such as the first person experiencing the actual memory, regardless of whatever age you happen to be in at the time. You step into the perspective of your current adult self, but you're still in the memory. In other words, we move from passively witnessing the memory to active visualization. Whew. Step 8 is validating the child's emotions. We comfort and show affection and unconditional, focused presence to our child self in the scene with one prerogative in mind: validating the child's emotions. We give the child the message that it is right and it is okay to feel how they feel, and we give them permission to fully feel how they do feel. If we feel unequipped to do this, we bring in our safe support figure from the safe haven into the scene to do this for our child self. Step 9 is to await relief. We wait for the child self in the scene to naturally move in the direction of relief, keeping in mind that the child self may just need you to prove that you will be there for them forever, just as they are. Step 10 is call back the other fractured aspects of yourself. We call back any other fractured aspects of the self that are present in that one scene and lovingly merge them into the core child self so that we are only dealing with that one child. Step 11 is meet that child's need within the memory. When and if the child feels validated and they're ready to move forward emotionally, we take the action to find a resolution in the situation at hand. This is where creativity and individuality are very important. We must find out what need is not being met and meet it. We can say things to our child selves that might make them feel good. We can stand up for our childhood selves. Give suggestions and take suggestions, but ultimately you must trust yourself or the person doing the process to know what is needed to alter the circumstance. Above all, trust your child self in that scene to know what he or she wants and needs. Chapter 12, I keep saying chapter. Step 12. My goodness. Look at me. Choice to stay or go. When a feeling of relief has occurred as a result of taking action to change circumstances in the memory, we give the child the choice to either stay in the memory, visualization, or to come into the safe haven that we created at the beginning of the meditation, which is our safe space, And step 13 is check for completion. If the child chooses to stay, we ask the child why he or she wishes to stay. We respond accordingly, and we repeat steps 10 through 12 if necessary before bringing the process to a close. As we repeat the steps, we check again for any more non-integrated, fractured aspects of the child self that might still be stuck within that memory. If we find any, we merge them into one child self and ask again. We have to trust the child to know what is right for him or her, and we will meet all of their needs within the context of that memory. If the child wants or needs someone to stay, we leave an aspect of ourselves or our safe support figure there with our child self. If the child chooses to go to the safe haven, then the child is brought into the safe haven where magic happens. Ha! Step 14 is enter safe haven and deactivate the memory. Coming into the safe haven, the memory of this child was taken out is then closed. For example, it could be watching the memory, like actually stepping the child out of the memory and watching it turn into a bubble that you can just pop, or watching it shrink into oblivion, or beating it to the ground, like literally whatever you want, whatever feels right to you, even if it's kind of crazy. Step 15. Create a purification and healing. Place the child or children in the healing water and bathe them and the purifying and healing ritual for entering the safe haven. The child can drink the water as well. This is symbolical for the ends of the previous life in the memory, so that this child can begin a new life here within the safe haven. Step 16 is meet the child's needs within the safe haven. The child's needs and wants are met within the context of the safe haven to the degree that the person doing the process feels as if the session is complete. That's such a beautiful part of the process sometimes. 17 step is the option to stay or merge. The child is given the choice to stay within the safe haven or to rejoin yourself and merge with your adult perspective. If the child chooses to stay, lovingly embrace and support that choice. If the child chooses to merge, we imagine the child merging with our adult perspective and becoming a part of us, like a puzzle piece, coming back into place. Step 18 is return to conscious perspective. We return to the conscious perspective, taking just at least a few deep breaths as we bring our consciousness back to real time. As we gently take time to reacclimate to the sharpness of our surroundings and this new level of integration and presence that we feel, we need to be present with the way we feel when we come out of the process. Our body needs to process the integration that has just occurred. And that is chapter 5. That's literally the end of that chapter. That's it. But I really love that. I love how she just sums it up. There's a lot that goes into the entire process, especially when you're actually in the thick of it, like really experiencing it, because it just feels so much different than just explaining it. But man, it's unlike anything that you will ever experience. Thank you. I love that picture of my dog. But yeah, it's a crazy thing. And I remember I've done the process probably 3 times, and I think that every single time, right after I did the process, I could tell that like my whole body just energetically had shifted, and everything just felt so light, and it literally does feel like you take like this big old puzzle piece and you're shoving it back into your body, and just like, finally. I had holes in me before I found you. Yeah, so thank you guys. This is a lot of fun. I'm gonna take a swig of water. And I guess I'll let you guys go. But I hope you enjoyed this chapter. This is one of my favorite parts. After this chapter, I just feel like it really gets into the nitty-gritty good parts. And it makes you feel comfortable to start doing the process for yourself. And once you can do that, literally, you are unstoppable. So, But thank you guys so very, very much for watching and listening. It means the world. It means the world to have company while I do what I love. So, thank you. I love you. And I will see you on tomorrow morning. We're going to do meditation together. Early in the morning. So if you're up, let's do a nice meditation together. I still haven't figured out what kind of meditation do I want to do this time. I'll have to think about that. Anyway, thank you guys. Love you to the moon and back. And I'll see you on the flip. I'll see you next week for chapter 6. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.